want to say hook 'em because my Texas Longhorns took care of business. And I also want to say my Texas Longhorns had a very ugly win today. But I am actually okay with this ugly win because, like I always say, a win is a win. And so I will keep that same energy. A win is a win. However, the thing that I was looking forward to, our secondary getting tested, seeing how that defensive line showed up, seeing how we would fare against SEC competition, I got to see all of that today. Was it pretty? Absolutely not. Were there some things that we can work on? Absolutely. But did Texas show grit and show heart and keep their heads in the game and find ways to win this game? Absolutely. And for that, I'm proud of them. So it was an ugly win. It was ugly. There's nothing else I can say besides the fact it was ugly. The penalties were ugly and all the things were ugly. But hey, listen, we won the game. A win is a win. So I'm going to do like I always do. I'm going to complain on the other side of this. So first and foremost, before I get into all of my things and all the notes that I took during this game, I am excited to see Texas win ugly. I didn't know how we were going to make this game look. We were highly favored. We were supposed to do all these things. We're great. We're number one. We're this, we're that, blah, blah, all the crap. But as I've always said, I don't care about any of that. I need my teams to come out. I need them to be consistent and I need them to show up and I need them to win football games. I notoriously say, I don't care if you win by 1 point. I don't care if you end with a walk-off field goal. I don't care how you win. I just need you to win. And Texas took care of business. The first half of the game was brutal. The first half of the game, it just kind of was what it was, but Texas settled down behind Arch Manning and they ended up taking care of business. And for that, I'm happy for them. So let me just talk about the things that I love. So the first thing I loved is 6 sacks. I think our defense showed up today. Our defense looked great. Against the run, we were okay. It was fine, but they did what they needed to do. They made the stops when they needed to make the stops. They got turnovers when they needed to get turnovers, and they stepped up. So kudos to the defense. Shout out to the defense. Also, shout out to Arch Manning. Arch Manning played very well. He played well because of Arch. Arch commanded the offense, and the ball was moving down the field. Was it always pretty? No. Did it kind of get sticky? Yes. Could I tell that Sark was being a little wonky with his play calling because he wasn't sure what Arch was going to be able to do? Yes. But at the end of the day, we got the win, and that's what matters. He was able to do what needed to be done. I personally think he got robbed of a touchdown, but listen, he did what he needed to do. He stayed in there. He took care of business. He didn't turn the ball over. He kept moving the ball down the field. He stayed calm. He does need to learn how to slide, but that's a whole different conversation. But he looked great. And I will also just say here, we will be happy when Ewers comes back and runs this offense because it just looks different when Arch is playing versus Ewers. And that's not a knock on Arch. It just means that this is Ewers' offense, and you can tell it was built for Ewers. But I will not knock any of those gentlemen. Manning, he did exactly what he needed to do. I am very proud of him, and I was glad that he got the job done, so kudos to him. The other thing I will say I love before I get to all the crazy and all the ugly is Colin Simmons. Colin Simmons, a true freshman, is officially getting double teamed on defense. And so that lets me know that Colin Simmons has arrived. Teams are starting to make adjustments based on Colin Simmons, and he is a true freshman. And so anytime you're playing defense and the offense has to adjust to you, it lets you know everything you need to know about how well you're playing. So shout out to Colin Simmons. Kudos to you. I also want to throw in something about Ryan Wingo. So Ryan Wingo got hurt. And I was wondering, what is his toughness going to be like? Is he going to stay down? How is he going to come back from this injury? He got hit pretty hard. It looked kind of ugly. You could tell his knee looked a little whatever. But you know what? Ryan Wingo said, okay, cool. My knee's hurt. Let me get a knee brace. Let me figure out what I need to do. And Ryan Wingo came back into that game. So kudos to those two freshmen for stepping up and being tough. I appreciate the toughness. The SEC is tough. Tough football, hard-nosed football. They showed up. They came to this game ready, and they showed up. And I'm proud of them for showing up. And I loved seeing them show up. So kudos to all of those guys, to Arch, kudos to Colin Simmons, kudos to Ryan Wingo, and really kudos to the entire Texas football team for playing through an ugly game. First half was looking a little whatever, but they showed up. There were some drop passes and all the things, but they showed up and they got the win. And that is what matters. And that is what I want to see. The one thing I'll say that I don't understand, but whatever, is Sark's play calling. I know that he's probably doing the best he can with what he's seeing in practice, and that's fine. But there's just some moments where I'm yelling at the TV because I don't understand what Sark is seeing, or maybe it's just me. I don't know, but whatever, right? It's kind of one of those things where, like, obviously he sees this team way more than I do. Obviously, he has a feel for what's going on way more than I do. It's just sometimes I'm just wondering, like, what are we doing, bruh? What are we doing? But it is what it is, and it's a whatever, so I'll just leave it where it's at. Things that I hated: penalties, 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 penalties. Our offensive line and all of the holding, the tight ends holding, I believe all of our penalties today, besides one, happened on offense. We have to stop doing that. We have to stop we can't do that. We cannot continue to have these penalties on offense. We really need to stop those ASAP. We need to get those cleaned up ASAP, because I just can't. I cannot sit and watch all of these penalties. It's gross. It's not the standard. They need to do a better job of these penalties. They need to clean up their football play. The other thing that I didn't love was the block punt. You know what's funny? 2 weeks ago, I mentioned the punter in my video, and I was like, I'm just throwing stuff out there, right? Because I did research and I was hearing what people were saying, and they were talking about the punter. And then today we get a punt blocked, and I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? So didn't love that. That was not great, and I didn't love it. The thing I didn't love is Blue fumbling the ball twice. So Blue is in an interesting position. So we were supposed to have Baxter be our running back this year. Everybody knew it, and Baxter is a stud, whatever. Baxter goes down. We're having issues at running back, so Blue steps into the spot. And then today, Blue fumbles the ball twice. And I don't want to knock on Blue, because the position he's been put in and all these things, like, whatever. I will just say this. I don't want any of my running backs to ever fumble. And I also don't want to handle him with kid gloves, so he needs to do a better job at not fumbling. Also, I think this bye week is going to help him, because I think that he was on the injury report. So I just want to say, Blue, if you see this, or any family members see this, or any Texas fan sees this, Blue, keep your head down, stay focused. It's okay. Get it all out of your system. Take a deep breath and just stay focused. That's all I'm going to say, because those fumbles were bad, but I need you to stay focused, because this team is going to need you. You are veteran leadership that we need on this team. So I'm not going to come down on you, because I try really hard not to come down on players. But Blue, I need you to step up, and I need you to take care of business. We did not win the time of possession game. I think we held the ball for like 24 minutes, and then Mississippi State held the ball for 34, 35 minutes or whatever, give or take a minute. So they had the ball 10 more minutes than we did. But the difference was they had turnovers, or we had turnovers, so we gave the ball back, and it was just one of those games. So this is one of those games where I tell people, sometimes when you look at certain stats, the stats don't always tell you about the game, because this game was ugly and this game was very close at halftime. And I think if you just look at the box score, you won't realize how close this game actually was. And so it's just another thing where I'm saying, like, stats don't always matter. The other thing I'll say in my random section here is I have no idea what a holding call is. I have no idea what a penalty is. I have no idea what a touchdown is. I have no idea what any of the rules are anymore. I have no clue. I thought I knew. I clearly don't know. So I don't know what's going on with any of these calls anymore. So I'll just leave it at that. The other random thing that nobody cares about is this is the first time we didn't cover. This is the very first time we didn't cover. But that's okay. We won the game. And at the end of the day, we won. Our backs were against the wall. We had to fight. We had to claw. We turned the ball over. Our secondary got tested. All of the things that I was hoping would happen happened, because now Texas has a week to go back to obviously rest, recover, do all the things they need to do for their bodies, but also look and see what they really look like. Look and see what you look like when you're going against talent that can match up against you in the trenches. How are you? How did you fare? How did you look? I saw some bright spots, and I saw some things that we need to get better at. And the other thing I want to say is no college team is ever going to be perfect. I know that I'm a tough critic, and I know that I have high standards, and I know that I'm very hard on my teams. I'm okay being very hard on my teams because I have expectations for my teams. However, I do know that it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be things that I can nitpick on. And that's why I only try to nitpick at the big things and not the little bitty small things, because at the end of the day, the small things are going to happen. There's nothing I can do. But the big things, the holding, the turnovers and things like that, I'm going to harp, because that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to end this part of this video here. After this part, you will get to hear the part of me where I'm ranting, and it's like become my safe space where I get to just talk about some things that I'm concerned about as we move forward. But listen, we won the game. And as always, hook 'em.
So the things I'm going to keep an eye out on is we're in the SEC, and we had some hard, tough football today. Some guys went down with injuries. Some of those guys came back. Some of those guys didn't come back. So there were some hard hits. There were some tough things that happened in this game, and so I am going to continue to watch Texas's ability to bounce back. This is SEC football. This is what we signed up for. So I'm very curious to see how Texas is going to bounce back. It's actually, in a way, it's not fair because we now are going into a bye week. So we have our first SEC game, and then we have a bye week, and then we play Oklahoma, who is a rival and a former foe, which, you know, you can say it's SEC football, but it's kind of Big 12 teams that are playing each other. And then the next week is Georgia. And so we kind of get the better end of the stick here, where we don't have to go SEC, SEC, SEC. We get a break. But I'm very curious to see how we bounce back from this game, how we look coming out against Oklahoma, and what changes and what doesn't change. The other thing I'm going to be looking out for, and I said this in all of my videos leading up to this season because of last year, I am concerned about that secondary. I expect the secondary to give up plays. All secondaries in football give up plays. That's not my issue. There were a couple of plays today where the receivers were wide open. Here's my issue with this. I don't mind if you make a play. You're supposed to make a play, right? Against athlete on athlete on athlete, you're supposed to make a play. Got it. I don't expect to see wide open receivers streaking down the secondary. Like, that's not something that I think is good. I don't think it's a good quality. Does it happen sometimes on a busted play? Absolutely. It happens in the NFL. I totally understand that. But I'm telling you right now, I'm a little bit concerned about our secondary. And yes, I could be concerned and overreacting because last year our secondary wasn't very good. And then this year, I feel like our secondary really hasn't gotten tested. And then today, I noticed that there's a lot of wide openness happening. Now, obviously, Mississippi State didn't complete those passes. So if you go back and look at the statistics of Texas's secondary, it's probably going to tell you great things, which is why I don't like stats. But I didn't like the way our secondary looked. They looked fine. They looked fine. They weren't bad. They just looked fine. So I'm going to continue to pay attention to the secondary, and that's what I'm going to do. So we're on a bye week. I'm excited we're on our bye week. I will have a video rolling out during the bye week because I have some things that I want to say that I want to get off my chest while we're on the bye week. But as always, I will end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you like, share, all the things for this video. And as always, I'll see you at some point very soon. Hook 'em.